You've been seeking answers from every dermatologist, doctor, and all over the internet, wondering what on earth this unbearable skin issue is. You know something's up, and you've been suffering and silenced for far too long. This podcast is going to bring awareness to the brutal reality that is topical steroid addiction and withdrawal syndrome. It will give you practical mental and physical tips to help you along your journey and provide you the strength you need to push through each day. You'll hear from real people battling this illness, as well as experts in the field, and I'm also going to share with you what's happening as I battle and conquer TSW. You are not alone, you're not crazy, and you will heal. If there's one thing I know, it's that anyone going through this hell is a warrior. My name is Jennifer Powers, and I welcome you to TSW Journey to Healing. Hello, Claire. I am so happy to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Jennifer. So excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. So I don't even know where I want to start with you. I'm just really excited to have another warrior on the show. And it's funny, whoever is listening to this episode right now, I think everybody kind of feels the way Claire had mentioned to me. She's like, before we were hitting record, she's like, I don't know if I have that much to say. And anybody who's been through this or going through this, I think we can both agree, Claire, like we have a lot more to say and to share than we even sometimes realize. And I think
absolutely
right.
When you first asked me, I was like, oh man, yeah, like I know people are struggling so much more than me, and like really, like, you know, I don't want to overshadow them or anything. But then when you sent me those interview questions, I really started to look at them, and I'm like, oh my God, there's a lot to my story, and like I really want to share it, and like if it can help one person, you know.
Absolutely. And that's what it's all about. And that's why we're doing what we're doing. So I am excited to have you on the show. Why don't we just kind of go back to the beginning and get started? Tell the audience like where you live, where you're from, and like your backstory.
So I am in Portland, Oregon. I was adopted from China when I was 18 months old, from my incredible mother, single mom. Woohoo!
Love it.
I know, she's so strong. And basically, I've always had dry skin, and I always had just like mild eczema. Like, honestly, if I think back now, nothing to worry about. And I actually came back from China with a patch of eczema on my cheek. And my mother, being just the incredible parent that she is, you know, she's worried about me. So takes me to the dermatologist. And they did not, you know, you go in and they look at you for what, like 30 seconds, not think to do any further testing or really ask you like background questions or get to the root cause at all. They're just like, okay, I got the medicine for you. And what do you know? Topical steroids.
Yep.
Yeah. And they told me that, you know, eczema was something that would be for life and it's genetic. And so it can only be managed with things like topical steroids. And then they didn't get into like more potent stuff or like any injections or oral steroids yet. I wasn't at that point. At the beginning, tried me hydrocortisone 2.5 and fluocinolone. I think I'm saying that correctly.
I can't say half the names of our creams.
Right, exactly. Which
That's
is
crazy.
Probably the first red flag.
Right.
And so the hydrocortisone was for my face, and then the fluocinolone, which I believe is in mid potency. So it's not like the strongest out there, luckily. And so that one was for my body, and I had it a lot on my legs, and then just wherever else it would pop up, sometimes, you know, inner corners of the elbow. Typical stuff. And the only warning I really got was that, hey, just put it on when you're flaring because it can thin the skin.
Yeah.
Um, and I was like, okay, no problem. But the thing is um, I was flaring like all the time. Or it's like once after I was on, these steroid creams for maybe a couple years, and then I was hitting middle school and puberty, and that just like goes crazy, and your hormones are all over the place. Um, then uh, the eczema became more severe, and I truly believe steroids had something to do with it. And so then I was flaring all the time. Then I would just slap the steroid cream on, and it got to a point where it was like several times a week for sure.
That you were slathering it on.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. And they worked like a charm at first, right?
Yep.
Like they were magic. And it was so reliable. And I knew if I had a flare, I would just like take a shower, put some on the night before, and I'd be clear the next day.
Yep.
And then that's kind of what I would, if I had a big event coming up, like, I don't know, high school, like prom or graduation or something, like, yeah, just like prep it with some steroid creams. And then I knew I would be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Then like clockwork, a few days later, I'd have clear skin for a couple days, and then it would come back because I'd stopped applying the steroid cream because I wasn't flaring, and then it'd come right back. And so I kind of knew it was like every week I'm like, okay, like I know I need to use these, and I felt like I had become reliant on them, and it's just like a matter of when in the week do I need to use these, but I know that I use them every single week. And I felt like deep down, I knew that this didn't feel right.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, something this good, it just like can't be safe, or like, what is the actual mechanisms behind this medicine?
When would you say that you did have that realization where you're like, something doesn't seem right? Like about how old were you, or how far along taking steroids?
In high school.
Okay.
And I'm 25 now. So, I mean, I just started withdrawal, like I'm in month 5. So I've been applying steroids literally, I mean, since I was a child up till 2024, because then I had my birthday during PSW. And that was the worst birthday.
Aw, I'm sure.
It's okay though. Hoping next year's better.
Yeah, absolutely.
But probably around high school, yeah, and I was just kind of like, this doesn't feel right, and I don't even know what I'm putting on my body. But,
Yeah.
like in high school and just going through adolescence, you're so insecure already.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And so you just want to do anything to just like clear up your skin. And I was desperate.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, just going to keep doing it because this is all I know. And this is the only thing the dermatologist told me.
Yeah.
And then as I grew older, and like, so here I graduate high school and going to college. And college, of course, is a very stressful time in a different way. It just kept getting worse. And I thought that I was supposed to grow out of it. And I was like, I wasn't growing out of it. And I was like, and then I'm like 20, 21, 22. And I'm like, just same cycle. Eczema is like almost always there. And then I put the cream on, stop using it, and it comes back. And then it started traveling. And it like went to, used to be just like localized inner arms and legs. And then it started traveling to like my face and my my neck, and it was a little on my face before, but just like eyelids or something, and it traveled to my entire face.
That's so
Um,
hard.
yeah, and I felt so like just like embarrassed about it because
Yeah.
I'm like looking around like no one else has this, or what it appeared to me. I was like, I'm the only one dealing with this. And yeah, and I just like it was so hard.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, for sure. What do you think? So, so that was like your whole like eczema journey and then the use of steroids. At what point did you realize like, wait, maybe this isn't just eczema. Maybe this is something related to the steroid medication. Like at what point was it that you learned about topical steroid addiction and withdrawal?
yeah, so it was probably sometime in 2021, maybe even late 2020. Um, I, oh, excuse me. I had this huge blow up on my face,
Mm-hmm.
and it did not look like my previous eczema. It had like almost like bumps and like little like pustules, or
Mm-hmm.
that's the word.
I think, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was pretty painful, and it was like stinging and burning. Um, and yeah, that was like 2 Christmases ago, maybe. And
Mm-hmm.
um, uh, like most people, I flare more in the winter time.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets better in the summer with the sun and
Yeah.
humidity, warm weather. And so winters are tough for me. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of just casually looked into it.
Okay.
And so um, I was like, oh man, like this is just not right.
Yeah.
And I Googled like overuse of topical steroids or something. And
Just because you thought like maybe this has something that you on your own thought, you're just thinking maybe it had something to do with what I'm using and what I've been doing. That's really good because I remember when I was trying to figure out what on earth this was, I just kept looking. I went everywhere from the web to social media to everywhere, and I just kept typing in like really undescribable, like bad eczema flare ups. And it took some random person's Instagram account with the word TS or the TSW in there. I'm like, what does that mean? And then I went down the rabbit hole, but I didn't put two and two together like you did, thinking like I could have done this. I thought like, why is my skin doing this? But
oh,
you were
totally.
ahead of I was, and you're like, maybe it has something to do, which is super
Uh-huh.
smart. And that's what I mean. Being an independent critical thinker on your own is half of the battle. I feel like most people they need to do a little bit more self like check inward, go inward and really do a survey of yourself and what you're doing and eating and lifestyle and all those things. So it sounds like you were ahead of that and thinking like maybe this is connected, which is really awesome.
Oh yeah, thank you. And I totally understand your situation though, and why it's just so horrible that this condition isn't recognized, because
Yeah.
people don't know, and then they like are suffering for like longer than they need to, just putting more steroid creams on because
Yep.
they don't know that that's what's causing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, but okay, well, hang on. So there's more to the story. Well, so I was Googling just like overuse of steroid creams, or like what happens if you, or like side effects of steroid creams, what happens if you use too much, blah, blah, blah. Um, but after I was reading the stuff and I was in denial, I was like, can't be.
Right.
Just probably because it was like pretty traumatic, and I was just like, no way. So, um, honestly, I kind of just like shelved that thought,
Mm-hmm.
and and just kept going and pushed through. And I just like continued using the steroid creams, and actually, it did clear up for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I do remember. I did go to my old dermatologist when my face blew up. And I was like, oh, I think it might be the steroid creams. I don't know how comfortable I am with using these anymore. And then dermatologist, it was interesting. She did say she respected my stance, and she was like, yeah, like if it can thin the skin for sure, and if you're not comfortable with it, try um, let's try this new thing that we have. And then she prescribed me Eladel.
Uh-huh. Yep. I was on that for a long, long time.
Oh yeah. And she was talking about how incredible it is, completely safe. You can apply every single day. Like keep the flare away. And she said, oh, this Eladel is preventative. If you do flare, then use hydrocortisone or the fluocinolone. And I was like, I was still wary because she was just giving me another drug. And I was like, okay, sure. Picked up the prescription, tried it a couple times. Honestly, didn't listen to her though.
Yeah.
I was like, not going to put this on every day. Maybe if like the hydrocortisone isn't working or something, like then I'll like switch it up. So yeah, that was like Christmas 2020. And then we're coming up to a year later, and it's around Thanksgiving time last year, right? So like
Okay.
4 or 5 months ago. And I was still on the cream. That was a really stressful time for me. I was over at my boyfriend's parents for the holidays. And you're always trying to impress them and stuff. And I'm like, oh, I gotta have clear skin for all the pictures and whatever. They have a cat too, which I'm allergic to.
Me too.
Yeah. And so I was putting on steroids probably like every day, a week, like before Thanksgiving to prep, like I do. Then I was putting on steroids every day that I was there. And that's when I noticed that they like weren't working anymore. And yeah, and I was like, okay, this is super weird.
Yeah. Well, because something that was like your miracle drug, you're like, wait a second, if this isn't working, I'm in big trouble.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Right. It was like my crutch, and I was just like, okay, because like if I can't control this, like with my creams, then I have no idea.
How do I do it? Right? You have no tools to like know what to do, right? Like
exactly.
Scary. Yeah.
So then I come home from Thanksgiving, and then I'm just like, these aren't even working anymore. Why put it on? That just doesn't make sense. And that's when shit hit the fan. So I stopped with the creams, and just after a couple of days, it got horrible. And like I blew up on my face, like on my neck.
Oh gosh.
Pretty itchy on my legs where I have the most, I guess, like suffered from the most severe eczema. And then that little like repressed memory in the back of my head about TSW came back.
You're like, uh-oh, I can't ignore it anymore.
Right, exactly. And then I was like, oh my gosh, like this might be
Could this
TSW.
be real? Yeah.
And I like hopped on Google again, and I was like freaking out. And then I found like Itsan and Scratch That. And even like a page, in the National Eczema Association. And I was like, they're even acknowledging this. Okay. And then I think after after a lot of digging, I think that was my light bulb moment when I'm like, this is from the steroid creams. It can't be anything else. My eczema has never like presented like this before. Um, and honestly, when I found out, I know a lot of people feel relieved when they find out because, like, it's an answer.
Hmm.
I totally understand. For me, I feel like I was not relieved. I was absolutely horrified
Yeah.
because, and I was like, oh my God, um, I'm going to have to go through this. And seeing, all the pictures and all the symptoms and stuff. And it was so scary. I was
It,
really
it,
scared.
I agree. It's terrifying. And some of the stuff, it's like you're really feeling for people like, my God, they're living in an actual nightmare. Like, what the hell?
Absolutely.
How is this even a thing? Right?
I know. Yeah. And I mean, I was mad too because I'm like, okay, like, I did everything I was supposed to.
Yeah. Yep.
Like we were, in my eyes, we were not abusing it
No.
because we were following the directions of the dermatologist. And then just that, I felt like I wanted to put the blame on someone, and I was just like,
Yep.
can't believe doctors did this to me. This is so horrible. I'm so mad at them. And I mean, it's hard because I do respect medical professionals, but
Sure.
still a little in that mindset currently.
I think that's totally normal. And I just want to like give you that validation and let you know, like, I don't think there's
Thank
anything
you.
really wrong with that because I, if it wasn't for leaning so heavily on my faith, I still have tons of major, you got to work through the feelings of anger because, it's, yeah. And it sounds, you're going to, when I say this sensitively, knowing that half the time, if somebody would say this to me, depending on my mood of the day, I'd want to punch them right in the face. But the reality is, it's not, we have to really work really hard at telling ourselves this didn't happen to us, it happened for us. It happened for us to discover things about ourselves we didn't know and our strength and all that stuff. But it's
Mhm.
so much easier said than done because
Mhm.
the reality is we did follow the instructions. We did do what we were told. It is very easy to, and it's allowed to feel angry, right? Like who in their
Yeah.
right mind would be going through something hellish like this wouldn't be pissed off beyond reason. I mean, it's just like it should have never happened. And then you
Mhm.
have to also flip it and say, okay, well, everybody only knows what they know. So if these doctors were taught that when someone comes in with this is what you, this is when this is A, this is what you do for B, like this is the order that they follow, this is what they're told and taught to do. And you have to hope and hope to think that doctors are, if they really knew about something like this, you would like to believe that they would absolutely say, hey, I'm going to give this to you, but please caution, don't use it more than 2 weeks. Stop. Like, do not, or something like that. But I don't think we're
Yeah.
there medically. I mean, we're just not there yet. And that's why it's people like you and I that need to like spread the awareness and really get loud about this because it's a tragedy. I mean, it really is. It's not like, look, it's not like we're not going to recover. Both of us are in our journeys currently. It's not like we've healed from this yet, but
Mhm.
we will, and it's not something that's like we're a ticking time bomb and the end is near. Like, no, we at least
Mhm.
know what's going on now. We can feel angry and we have every right to, but we're going to focus on, like healing ourselves and then helping other people to hopefully not have to go through something like this.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that positive mindset. And
Well,
that,
believe me, you're catching me on a decent day, but there's plenty of days.
okay.
Let's not make no
Okay.
mistake about it. Like Claire, you and I are like soul sisters here because we were right before the show, and whoever's listening right now, like we were like, can we curse on the show? I was like, absolutely we can. This is a a lot of these
Oh,
health,
yeah.
right? Because
Mhm.
sometimes you just need to curse at the top of your lungs and punch a pillow and cry it out and yell and be angry. And that's part of the healing process. That's part of like just getting it all out. Because it's a
Mhm.
very physical and mental struggle all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Um, but
And
this is no cakewalk by any means.
no, not at all. And for the listeners out there, you might not know, but I totally feel that soul sister aspect because we started at like almost the same exact time,
I know.
which is crazy.
It is crazy. And
So
that's
I
what's,
think,
it's really cool because we're in that It's Sand group and we're in these support groups
yeah,
and just being around the truth is no one, your friends, your family, you can have them. I have the most supportive network and, support system out there, but no one can even remotely understand what this is like. It's only somebody that is
mhm,
going through this. That's why you have to link up. You have to connect with people. You have to find a group. You have to, and when somebody's going through it in a very similar timeline as you're everyone's journey is different and we all have different symptoms at different times, but it is super powerful and very helpful when somebody is like right walking along that journey side by side pretty much as you. So
totally.
I agree with you 100%. It's super helpful. And I love that we get to hold each other accountable and pull each other up when we're down. And it's cool because if not for this terrible, awful illness, disease, whatever the heck you want to call it, like we wouldn't have known any of these people. I wouldn't have known you. We wouldn't be able to help other people. So it's a blessing and a curse, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. I hear you for sure.
What do you
Um,
say? What would you say? Like, cause we did just kind of briefly say like there was a lot of mindset stuff that does go into this. I mean, and again, there's been plenty of days where I'm like cursing at the world and going, God, why'd you do this to me? Why do I have to deal with this? And it is
mhm,
kind of interesting at this time we're recording the show. It's obviously not going to be the release date, but today is Good Friday, right? So whatever religion or faith, or if you have any faith at all, it made me think a lot today, like, wow, like, there's not one person in this planet that can get through their life without suffering of some kind. And so I hope that this is you and I, Claire, but also anyone listening and any fellow warrior. I hope that this is the hardest thing that we'll ever have to go through because it's sometimes
mhm.
really hard to imagine a bigger suffering than the one that we're currently in because it is that bad.
Yeah, for sure. I hope that too. And I don't think it's interesting because I feel like I don't think people really grasp that who aren't going through it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I think, something the tough thing about skin conditions and the tough thing about PSW is the stigma behind it that, oh, it's just skin, or like, oh, like, I have some eczema too, like, but it's like the tiniest little spot or something. So they're like, I manage it with this. So like you can do it too. And I feel like
Yeah,
that can be definitely a it's a frustration of mine for
for
sure.
sure. For sure. Yep.
Mhm.
Same here. What would you say? Because I think I was starting to mention it and then I went on a little tangent there, but what would you
No,
say
that's
like
okay.
your mindset has played? You're going into month 5 right now. I mean, listen, for me, those first 1 or 2 months, 3 months, even, I mean, they were so excruciating, so brutal. I have such PTSD when I think back and just even moving forward, I think it's going to be permanently something that I'm going to have to work through. Just the fear
Mhm.
of touching anything that God forbid has a little steroid in it, or just like even just seeing pictures or knowing when you have a good couple of days, you're like walking on eggshells, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm like holding my breath, waiting for something. And then sure enough, yes, a flare will continue to happen because we're still in this healing process. What
Mhm.
role did your mindset or is your mindset playing in this journey and in your recovery?
Yeah. So, I am going to be honest. I mean, same boat as you. So traumatizing.
Yeah.
And just like I do believe that we'll have some just PTSD from this for sure. And there's just so much anxiety with PSW. And honestly, um, I, especially at the beginning, I just did not have a good mindset or good mental health,
Mm-hmm.
really going through it. Uh, I I sulked a lot for sure. I mean, TSW broke me.
Yeah.
Um, and
Me too.
and I the thing is that I mean, I know how important mindset is, and um, I knew that what I was doing, this negative self talk, getting down, wasn't healthy. Um, and it's it's kind of like, even though you know, you're still not invincible
Oh, yeah.
to like falling into that pit. I feel like um, even like therapists probably need their own therapist,
Oh,
because
that's
they
exactly
have
right.
all the tools, but still something horrible can happen and they need someone else to remind them, because
Yeah.
they
And
can't
let's,
like stay positive on their own.
yeah. And I just want to, I like where you're going with this because I say, look, the big intro of the show is like, look, we want to be here to lift people up and a I want to be a resource for giving people hope because there is hope and there is a light at the end of the tunnel, the very, very dark
Hmm.
tunnel that we're in. But let's cut the shit and just admit this is so, like it just brought me to my knees. It broke me as well. And there's no shame in admitting that we are humans and humans are not invincible. Like you said, we're not God. We don't have this endless supply of motivation and inspiration and cheerful, optimistic outlooks
Hmm.
on life. Like this shit is horrible and excruciating and
Yeah.
debilitating. And it has taken so much from so many of us. It's taken our jobs, it's taken our time, it's taken our months or years of our life, right? Of feeling normal and feeling happy and sexy and beautiful and just all and confident. And it's terrible. I mean, that's truly terrible. So I
Yeah.
agree with you.
So
And I'm a big look, I've been a single mom for so many years now, and I have been
it's
and
awesome.
yeah, and my son's almost 11, and I've been an entrepreneur for a long time, and I've spoken on stages and I've told people, and people are like, "Oh my God, you're so inspirational." But then when you have something like this hit you, it's like it doesn't matter what tools you have in your toolbox. It doesn't matter how much you know how to inspire yourself or motivate yourself or whatever. It's
Hmm.
like that shit is like gone, like it's gone, right? And you're like,
Yeah.
I am left at my most raw and vulnerable state and a really and dark places. I mean, at sometimes I just thought I don't even recognize myself, not looks wise, that too, but just like
Right.
my mind, my mental state were just like, who is this person? Like I don't know who she is anymore. And it is so scary because you're like you feel like you're losing yourself. Like your whole identity is it's completely different.
Hmm.
So I completely agree with you, Claire, on that 100%.
Yeah, and what's crazy is the onset for at least for me, and it sounds like for you too, is so quick.
Yeah.
Like literally going from 100, like living your life and like doing all the things you love, to zero, where this just stops you in your tracks.
Yeah.
And I think that was so jarring as well. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Totally. I remember like yeah, I mean my when I was kind of realizing like this is different, this is definitely not eczema. It was back in the summer of 21 and I had just started,
Hmm.
dating my current boyfriend back then and and you're like, "Oh, everything is great. It's summertime. You feel good in the summer." But I started to be like, "Wait a minute. This is not a normal rash. This is not this." And it's like you said, when you it was like 60 mile 0 to 60 where I was fine, 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 fine and then I was not fine. And then it just went
Yep.
so far. It went 0 to 60 downward, like going down. And I'm like,
Yes.
oh my, and it's like a snowball, like an avalanche. Like you cannot stop it. You just have to get out of the way and let it do its thing. And it's just as somebody that's like, I'm such a control freak. I like to control everything and like manage things in my life. And I'm like, oh my
Right.
God, I'm powerless here. Like I actually have nothing there is nothing I can do. And that's like a really helpless, horrible feeling.
So, so scary. And then, I mean, even my mom was just mentioning, and of course, like our caretakers are so amazing and
Yeah.
they're going through it with us. And I mean, she was just heartbroken for me because she was saying, like, I remember just like 6 months ago and just a turnaround because you were so happy and
Yeah.
you're just like, so you're thriving. And like, and now it is just a completely different like persona. And
Yep.
like, and I couldn't disagree, and I felt horrible, and I'm like, I know, mom, I know, like, I'm sorry. um
Yep.
and
It is
yeah,
sad
I mean,
because,
it's so visible and so clear.
yeah, I mean, we're so stuck in our own hell. And sometimes when you do have like a good moment, hour, day, 2 days, whatever, and you can actually think
Hmm.
about the caretakers, the people, our loved ones that are witnessing this happen. And I mean, they are. they are physically witnessing a transformation of like who we were, like our personalities have changed, our appearance has changed. It's like they're watching this chameleon or this like this we're just transforming in front of their eyes,
Yeah.
and it's really I tried to think the other day, like, God, if my mom had this, if my son had this, if my best friend had this, like I would be super depressed, because to see it and know that there's nothing you could do to help that person that you love is terrible. So as much as it's awful for us dealing with this and going through this, it's in a whole different way. It's so bad for the people that love us. And it's just that
Uh-huh.
that's the whole thing, right? And
Absolutely.
like, and that's with anything. That's with, like, God forbid, cancer or other diseases and things. It's just we realize how fragile we are as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
But I like to, every time, we get in a really bad place, I think to myself, okay, it's hard to do this a lot of times again, but I'm trying to say, okay, it could be worse. It could be worse, right? Like I could have cancer. I could have 6 months to live. I could have to have my arm amputated. I could have to have, you go down that list. And sometimes that's why I'm like, sometimes that's the only thing that keeps me hanging on, to be honest. I like,
Uh-huh.
because I'm like, otherwise, when you're living in this nightmare, it's like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. I can't do this anymore. It's just
Yeah.
really, it is that bad. So, you know,
Uh-huh. I hear you. Um, back to the mindset question. I was going to say, I can't say that my mindset played a huge role in my healing at the start,
mhm,
but I I believe that my body was healing regardless,
mhm,
and which is incredible. And sure, maybe my mindset like could have sped it up, but I was healing no matter what. So I
mhm,
think that was a positive for me for sure.
definitely.
And yeah, kind of what you were saying earlier. I mean, now I am in a little better headspace. And going into month 5 soon, and I have seen healing. And the things that I always just have to keep reminding myself is that I will heal, and this is not permanent. This won't kill me.
Mhm,
So exactly what you were saying. Um, and I try to keep a list of things that I'm grateful for
mhm.
as well. And I do that on my phone, and I always just look at that. Um, exactly what you said. Just have perspective. Like it could definitely be worse. Like, oh, I could be, oh my gosh, like homeless or
Yeah.
something, or like maybe wouldn't or like could not have as good a support system as I
Mhm.
do. And I have clothes, I have food. Um, so yeah, and I just can't even imagine like some people don't have those things,
Yeah.
and um,
Well, and that's
that's just a whole nother level. Like that's just so awful.
I
So
I agree. And just having the love, the roof over your head, the food on the table, the fact that we get to open our eyes and live another day when they're, people in third world country. There's just so many scenarios you can throw out there, and
oh yeah.
you can choose to live in the depression. And again, this is so much easier said than done, because I suffer with anxiety and depression, right? I understand. I can anyone listening to
Mhm.
this that's like, you have no idea. No, I do have an idea. It's very scary. It's very, very hard. That's an understatement.
Mhm.
But you still have to realize how many, like, life is a gift, and we do have so many things to be thankful, to be grateful for. Um, no matter what, no matter how bad and low it is, it's you still have so much. So I love that you pointed that out. I absolutely love that. I practice gratitude every day. I take my son to school in the morning, and he is like, he's pre-teen right now, so everything mom does is like kind of annoying and like not cool. But
I know, and
right,
cringy.
yeah. And I'm like, no, I wanted more time with him, but the innocence is going, and he's getting like into those years. But no,
Uh-huh.
he's a total sweetheart. But we drive to school, and I say, all I say is three things, and he knows exactly what it means. And I always say, okay, start before I take you out, before I let you out of this car, you have to tell me three things that you're grateful for in the morning, because no matter what,
Oh, I love that.
yeah, because I always say to him, look, the day could then go really good or the day could be bad. But if it goes bad, you at least remember, hey, this morning, like I had those three things. I'm really grateful for that. So it can't ever be that bad. You have to still focus on the gratitude and what's good. Right. So, yeah, so I completely agree with you about that. What would you say going into month 5? And I'm so happy, I'm so proud of you for being on the show and for sharing your story and for just being a warrior, because this is
Oh, thank
so
you.
hard. And
Hmm.
I'm right there with you. So what would you say lessons, maybe like lessons that you've learned, or even advice that you would give to someone that's maybe just starting out on their journey?
Um, so I think something that I've learned that is huge is empathy for other people
Mm,
and just like really feeling for people that are suffering. I don't know if I truly got that until now when like it happened to me. And so um that has helped me grow a ton through this.
hmm
Yeah, just like um yeah, just like giving people more grace and like not judging them
hmm
for really like anything if they like um can't hang out or if they that they're like even like small things um like my mom gets a headache or something. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, do you need something? Like, let me help you.
that's so beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think, I mean, before it would kind of be like, I'd probably just brush it off or be like, ah, come on, like, tough it out, mom. Like, it's a headache. Now, like, you really feel for anyone suffering these days.
And what I love
And,
about you saying that, not to interrupt you, it's like my
oh,
mom suffers with migraine headaches all the time. When you're going through something like TSW, it's very easy to, and you're not a bad person for this, and it's just, and it doesn't, I don't know how else to put this. It's easy for you to say, to look at somebody who, I don't know, gets a sprained ankle or has just a headache, and notice what I just said. I said just a headache, right?
right, right.
You look at other people that have, I don't know, they have allergies even. Let's just say it's that, right? And it's like,
Yeah,
oh my God, you're lucky in your head. You might want to instantly think, oh Jesus, stop complaining. All you have is allergies. Like you don't even know how bad it is for me. And it's easy to do
right.
that.
Yeah. Like,
It's
I wish I just had allergies.
right, right, exactly. But
Hmm.
then you're right. The empathy part of it. I had another interview on the show with another guest, and she worded it so beautifully. She said, like, I now know, like she had, now knock on wood, I didn't have this happen. I didn't lose I mean, a little hair on my eyebrows, but not my hair on my head.
Mm.
And so she had all of the worst symptoms, and we've gone through plenty of awful symptoms with this. But she said, I now know, speaking of empathy, I know what it's like to experience a symptom of cancer because I did go bald. I did lose all my hair like a
Yeah.
chemo patient. I now know what it's like to not be blind, but her eyes were really affected, dry eye, like really blurred, bad vision. She's like, she went down
Oh
a whole list
gosh.
of things, and she's
Mhm.
like, I know what it's like to be this and to have this and to be like that. And I wouldn't have had that feeling. I wouldn't have had be empathetic if I didn't have to struggle myself with what I had to go through. So I think that is an amazing lesson that you're pointing out, and something that is a huge, I don't want to say perk, but a huge God, what's the word? Not advantage, but to having something like what we're going through,
Mhm.
that's a really wonderful lesson and something to experience that we probably wouldn't have experienced that if we weren't going through this.
Right. And I think also too, just like um, people that have not given me grace through this journey has opened my eyes too, because then I'm like, I don't want to be that person. And
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't want to make someone feel that way. So, I mean, this totally humbles you a lot. Um,
Absolutely.
so I'm really like, I think that's something that, um, like, that's why I was meant to go through this for sure is
I love that.
just to, mm-hmm. be more empathetic, be a better person. Also, like we discussed earlier, I like learned lots of gratitude. Now I think just even for the small things, just being so thankful for what we have, being more mindful of that too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and let's see, don't trust big pharma for sure.
Yeah, I'm with you on
You know,
that.
or like at least do your research.
That's it. That's if you could say that to anyone, like you make your own you make your best decisions, but always ask a ton of questions and do your
Yeah,
own research. That's with anything and everything in life.
that's where I'm at now. And like any medication that any doctors prescribe, like I won't take it willingly anymore. I'm like, okay, let
Yeah.
me like sure like write the prescription. Let me check this out though. And
Yep.
actually, I mean, oh my gosh, I feel so lucky because I learned that really soon. Because I had a last ditch effort to go to the dermatologist like right after Thanksgiving, when my face had blown up and I was kind of realizing it was TSW. Went to the derm one last time and I was just like, what can I do? Where can I go? And then they they wanted to prescribe me prednisone
Oh no.
and then get on Dupixent.
Yep, that was the same. That was the
And
exact same thing for
yeah,
me at the
oh
end of
my
November. That's crazy too, because
God.
I had COVID the very over Thanksgiving, and it was
Okay.
I think it was before I had COVID that I went, and that was exactly the same thing. And I just looked at him and I said, "You do know, like I've been on prednisone at least once a year, every year for the last God only knows what." And I just was on it in September. This was right before I finally figured out, oh, this is. I took a 10-day supply of prednisone so before a wedding, September 10th, 2021. And about
Wow.
halfway through, maybe 5 or 6 days in, my symptoms started coming back and never in my life. That was my favorite drug. You want to talk about drug of choice? That was
Oh
like,
yeah, I
I'm
listened
like,
to your previous podcast.
oh, you
So
heard it. You heard,
funny.
yeah, right. I was like, give me
Yeah,
the drugs. I want it. I
drug
want
of choice.
yeah, I was like, oh my God. And to the point where I would go to urgent cares and be like, I look at and they're like, oh, what do you have a rash? And they're like, what did you? I'm like, just write a prednisone. And they wouldn't even ask me questions. They would just do it. So I was like, yes, oh my God, my skin's gonna look amazing. And it stopped working. So similar to you, this doctor knew that I had just been on it. Now that is a hardcore drug. We all know that. You should not take that a couple months. You should, if you're going to have to take it once a year, maybe twice a year, but you don't take that multiple times. Like that is
Yeah.
major.
Oh God.
And he knew I was just on it 2 months prior. And he's like, same thing, Dupixent, prednisone. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Are you kidding me? Like,
Right.
what are you
Oh,
doing? Like, no way.
totally. Oh well,
No
that
way.
believe me, that was the last time I saw that
Right.
dermatologist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
because
proud of
then.
you for that. That's
Oh, thank you. I
because
know.
it's not when you're at that low point, it's so easy to be like, just whatever. And like the
Yeah.
exhausting part of doing your own research when all you want to do is trust the doctors. And sometimes you can,
Mhm.
they're not out to get you. I mean, God, they're there to want to help. They take that oath, but it's like, do you recognize like how much my body has gone through? And this isn't the best thing for me. Like, and
Mhm. I know.
yikes.
So I feel so lucky that I did my research on those things and I didn't take it. That
Good.
yeah, some people like just what you were saying, like take prednisone or whatever and like a desperation, and
Mm-hmm.
then that's what sets them off for like a full body flare or something. So
Yeah.
I was so fortunate that I didn't take any, like no oral steroids, and I think that is honestly what's saving me from the worst.
I am so happy to hear you say that. I mean, I took some oral steroids and that's why, it's funny you used to bring that up because I wish the name wasn't topical steroid addiction or withdrawal because
Oh
it
yeah.
is both. I mean, it absolutely is both. I mean, there's somebody in that group I just saw a post not that long ago where they were only on just prednisone, never did a steroid cream in their life. They only took the prednisone for 7 days. They're in TSW now from that. So
Wow, just 7 days.
it's mind blowing. I mean, how potent these drugs are and how they can affect people
Uh-huh.
differently. But I'm very happy to hear that you didn't go down that path because
Thank you.
you probably would have been like obsessed with it like the way I was.
Uh-huh.
And then it would have wreaked havoc and hell on you. So yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And um, And just to your last point, I am realizing literally how many corticosteroids there are now. There's
Mm-hmm.
topical, oral, injection, eye drops.
Yep.
Um, yeah, so all of those, it's not just topical, which
No,
is crazy.
not at
And then
all.
that's where the anxiety comes from, where it's like, okay, like gotta avoid everything now just to be sure.
Yeah, exactly. It's like unless you're opening up like an aloe plant or something like that, where you're like,
Yeah.
okay, it's from the ground. It's got to be like right. It's
Hmm.
very. I mean, yeah. And I remember when my itch was so ungodly bad in like month two. I mean, and it's still. Don't get me wrong. I
Mm.
still have massive tons of itching. I'm itching right
Oh, me
now.
too.
I've said the word itch and now I'm itching. Right. So it's, but
It
you
just
know,
triggers you. Yeah.
right. And you go to like the drugstore, you go to like pharmacies, you look around at the grocery store and I was never a label reader. Now it's like every single thing, if it has like any kind of percent, I'm like, that must mean it's a steroid. I can't touch it. I don't want to touch it. Like
Uh-huh. Hmm.
it's very scary. It's very anxiety inducing. Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's
I get
the
that.
path that we're on right now. So it's just better safe than sorry. And if you're not sure, don't touch it. Don't take it. Don't drink it. Don't swallow it.
Uh,
That's the best
Agreed.
advice. Yeah. I loved having you on. I know that our time's coming up to an end. Is there any last minute, words of wisdom or anything that you want to impart on the audience, anyone listening to the show?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I would just say first, I'm so sorry if you're going through this. We are walking through hell and um, right there with you. So you're not alone, okay?
Yeah.
And it's going to be okay. We will get better. Um, and I definitely say if you can, find a great support system through family, friends, the TSW community. Funny story, um, I found someone in my area who is going through TSW too. Shout out to Brooklyn.
Wow,
And
cool.
yeah, I was just messaging this girl on Instagram and like following her TSW account. And then we kind of got to chatting and found out that we live like literally less than 30 minutes away from each other.
Wow.
So then we had a couple like TSW dates and it's been so fun.
I love that.
So I've leaned on her a lot for sure. Of course, my mom, my boyfriend. Um, I would say too, just give yourself grace for sure, because this shit is hard.
Yeah.
Um, and like, don't let anyone like gaslight you or diminish what you're going through. Because like, it's just this suffering is unimaginable, and like, no one should have to go through this. So
I
just
agree.
like, just like, give yourself some grace. Like don't be mad at yourself. This is not your fault. Um, Remind yourself what you're thankful for. Practice that gratitude and focus on that big picture. You will get better. You can do it.
Yeah,
And
for
also, I
sure.
think too, like, don't feel pressure to try it all. I feel like, and that's something I had to learn for
That's a
sure.
really that's really good advice.
Yeah, it's like, you're on the Facebook page and then like there's a million things being suggested. And
Hmm.
like because SW is not well studied, like we don't know what's gonna work and what's not gonna work.
Yep.
Um, and then like everyone's, lots of advocacy for NMT,
Yep.
or for like, I don't know, like trying these supplements or like slapping on this like topical or whatever, like lotion or something.
Hmm.
And yeah, I just say like do what you feel comfortable with. Do not feel pressure to like push yourself into something that you like honestly don't want to do or your body's not responding well to.
Hmm.
Um yeah, because
That's excellent
like
advice because I just remember there were some times where I'm like, I got to not get in that group for a few days because I was getting so overwhelmed and so stressed out. Like, what
yeah,
do I try the carnivore diet? Do I eliminate gluten? Do I do cryotherapy? Do I,
right.
what do like, do I meditate? I mean, do I put the
So
cream
many
on?
things.
Do I not put the cream on? Do I take a bath? Do I not take a bath? Like, it's
Uh-huh.
It's a lot. It's a lot of a lot now, and everybody's there just to offer like advice and help be for and everyone's sharing what works for them. But that's what's
Mhm.
crazy. Just like anything in life, there's no one size fits all. So I say this to when I was explaining some of this to family members and even my son, I said, you would agree that an apple is a healthy food. It's a good food. It's like a good thing to eat. But if
Yeah.
somebody like me has an apple because I developed a massive sensitivity, or it almost feels like a major allergic reaction in my when I turned 30, 31. If I eat an apple now, it's like my throat's going to close up and it feels
Oh
like terrible.
goodness.
So we would both agree, yes, an apple is absolutely healthy, but for me,
Mhm.
it would not be healthy. It would not be a good choice. So same thing with a cream or a lotion or a potion or a mind or practice. Yoga
Yeah.
for some people is amazing. For other people, the friction of the yoga pants it's like going to drive them nuts, right? So fitness,
Uh-huh.
exercise, water intake, all of it. It's just about keeping a daily like, mental jotting it down, and that's actually why I'm just so proud and excited that I'm working right now currently, hopefully to release it in the sort of near future, but a specific TSW journal with every single thing in it so that people can really
Oh,
document. Yeah, it's going to be really awesome. I'm very excited. So because
cool.
because that's it is overwhelming. And if you don't really, just like if you don't take progress pictures, sometimes you look in the mirror and you're like, God, I look just as crappy as I did last month. But you don't, and then you look, if you actually see it, you're like, wow, no, I'm making big improvements. Like,
Oh,
you
for
know what I
I
mean?
truly believe in progress pictures. And I
Yeah,
know they're so hard to take.
they
Like,
are. Oh, they are.
oh my God, they just like gut you.
They
Then,
do.
like, I mean, we're feel like where we are now, going into month five, and then like I look back at month one, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Claire, like
Yeah.
you're doing it. You're
Yeah,
like, then that's a huge confidence boost. So
I
I think
agree.
taking pictures are so
I,
important.
I've been taking videos, pictures. I'm going to put a whole montage together after year one and just see what the heck
How
this is. It's
cool.
going to be really cool.
Cool.
I recommend everybody try and do it. And I agree what you just said. Let's end it on that, like, and say, we have to look in the mirror. I mean, whether you practice affirmations or whatever, it's so powerful when you can look in the mirror and be like, thank you for my beautiful skin. You are beautiful. You are healing. You're doing it. Like you're doing a great job. When I do that, it sounds like some in the beginning I was like, God, I feel so stupid doing this, but it really does trick your brain into believing it. Like what you say and what you think becomes your reality. So there's
It
days where I sit
does.
on the couch and I'm like, I go, oh my gosh, I haven't like itched or moved in like at least 20, 30 minutes. I am so grateful to have been able to sit still for 30 minutes. That's
Oh my gosh, yes, the
unbelievable, right?
small wins. The
Yeah.
small wins.
And it sounds crazy to people like that don't they were like, are you kidding me? I remember going to the movies with my boyfriend a couple weeks ago and I was like, oh my God, I sat through the hour and a half movie and I wasn't like jumping in my seat, the constant like moving and moving. And he pointed it out. I
Yeah.
didn't even know. He's like, I don't know if you're
Mhm.
aware of this, but you just
Must
and I
have
was
been a
like,
good movie too.
I know. I was like, I
Awesome.
did that. I did that. Oh my gosh. Right. But so that's what you got to do. We got to end on that and say, anyone who's going through this, you are such a badass. You are such a warrior. You will be okay. You
Mhm.
got Claire and I in your corner. You have a whole supportive community if you want it, need it. And we're going to get through it together and be better off. And then we're going to change the way the future is going to be looking at these drugs and these steroids and just treatment for eczema and skin conditions in general. So
Yeah, let's do it.
let's freaking do it. I am so grateful that you were here and took all this time with us today. Thank you so much. I can't wait to stay connected and cheer you on. And we're going to have a healing party when this is all behind us.
We should. Oh my gosh, that'd be
A
amazing to actually
virtual
like meet up
party.
and stuff.
Yes. Yes.
Wow,
Yeah,
yeah,
in person would even be better. Absolutely.
be cool.
Yes. Thank you so much, Claire. I hope you have an awesome day and I hope your healing journey continues so beautifully.